Good evening. We want to welcome you to the February 23rd meeting of the Town of Clayton Planning Board. And we'll start this evening by taking our roll call. Conrad, if you would do that, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So starting with Chair Dupree.
Here.
Vice Chair Applewhite. Here. Board Member Gleason.
Here.
Board Member Saraski.
Here.
Board Member Bland.
Here.
Board Member Carter.
Here.
Board Member Hooker. Here. Board Member Hall.
Here.
Board Member McCurney is excused. And Board Member Durham.
Here.
Thank you. Great, thank you, sir. We do have a quorum for tonight.
All right. Before we get started this evening, let's stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I want to welcome everybody this evening. I believe our first order of business is for the town clerk to swear in new members, new board members, or swear in the board members.
Good evening. If Mr. Durham will come down to the podium. You'll place your left hand and raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Randall Durham,
I, Randall Durham,
do solemnly swear that I will support
do solemnly swear that I will support
and maintain the Constitution
and maintain the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a planning board member,
as a planning board member.
so help me God.
So help me God.
And next, if we'll have Vice Chair Applewhite. If you'll repeat after me. I, Derek Applewhite,
I, Derek Applewhite,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of my office
of my office
as a planning board member,
as a planning board member.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, Chair Dupree. Left and raise your right hand. I, Jody Dupree,
I, Jody Dupree,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of my office as a planning board member,
as my office as a planning board member.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
All right, first thing this evening, after that is the adjustment of the agenda. Are there any adjustments to the agenda this evening?
No adjustments to the agenda, sir. Thank you.
Okay, then we will adopt the agenda. Have a motion to take the agenda as it is.
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? All right, next, item 4 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Trust you folks have had an opportunity to read those. Any motion pertaining to those?
I make a motion, we adopt the weeks, we approve, I'm sorry, we approve the.
Board Member
meetings.
Bland has made a motion that we adopt we approve the minutes. I'm
approve,
saying the
I'm
words that you're saying now, that we approve the minutes of the last meeting. Do we have a
sorry.
second?
I'll second it.
Have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. We're going to move on now this evening to the items under item 5, public meeting. First on the agenda this evening is item 5A, 2025-41 CZM Arbors at East Village Phase 2, Type 3, conditional rezoning, and we will hear from staff now.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Planning Board. Robert Tate, Senior Planner with the Planning Department in town. Tonight before you is a Type 3 conditional rezoning to rezone the subject parcels from the planned district residential zoning district to a conditional residential zoning district. The subject site is approximately 4.19 acres and is situated along East Front Street near the intersection of Bent Branch Loop. Today, the site is wooded and undeveloped. And just taking a look at the notice that was provided for this meeting. This next slide shows you the zoning today and the proposed zoning at the result of approval of this request. So showing you that planned residential, that planned district residential at the top, and then that conditional residential at the bottom in that greenish color. So with all type 3 conditional rezonings, a concept plan is a requirement. And here you can see a pretty detailed concept plan. The detailed nature of this concept plan is to help support what the conditions are showing for the request. So you can see there's some parking that is shown within the units and also in front of the units. And then there's also some open space and driveway details that you can also discern from here. With all concept plans, this will run with the land and the zoning if approved. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about the conditions of approval associated with this request in a moment. As far as consistency with town policy, this is consistent with the future land use map designation of downtown support. That designation recommends a mixture of non-residential uses and a variety of housing types. This project is a multifamily project that would have a gross residential density of up to 12 units per acre, and the concept plan is showing 45 units on the site. So consistent with town policy. So here over the next couple of slides, I'll kind of walk you through the conditions of approval associated with this request. You'll notice here, I start at condition number 8. And that's because the first 7 conditions are your typical Town of Clayton standard conditions that I don't have to go over with you guys, get to the meat and potatoes of the actual request. So condition number 8 would allow multifamily driveways to count towards the off-street parking requirements. It'll also configure driveway dimensions to be 18 by 20, and then also allow those driveways to be essentially in front of each unit, so they'll have direct access. Condition number 9 is a modification to allow 1-car garage and 2-car garages to count towards those parking requirements as well. And prior to a certificate of occupancy, a copy of the lease agreement is a requirement for that approval to demonstrate that the parking is for, or the garage is for parking rather than storage or any other use or nature. Condition number 12 allows for some flexibility in the spacing and separation of those driveways so that there are no greater than 20 feet apart, and then also has that minimum separation of 2 feet from each other. Condition number 11 allows some modification of the design standards, which would allow garage entries to be greater than 20% of the total building facade. So not just the unit, but the building itself. So there could be 4 or 5 units in a building. So the modification is to allow greater than 20% of that facade to be more garage space. Condition number 12 allows some flexibility on the type of open space utilized across the site, and this is in alignment with what would be required otherwise in the UDO. Condition number 13 just requires the applicant to record a cross-access use agreement. This site, and along with the apartment complex north of this site, will share some of the site features, so some of the amenity space and some of the trash. So there's a use agreement regarding that, and also the access into this site. The 14th condition requires the applicant to submit and record a plat as depicted in the concept plan. Today, the site itself is not one property. It's actually one larger site and then pieces of 2 other larger properties just to kind of fit their product essentially. Condition number 15 will require EV charging capabilities for each dwelling unit, and that's going to be for a level 2 EV charger station. Number 16 allows the applicant to receive some planting flexibility credits that can help contribute to their landscaping requirements, so whether that's buffering or screening on their site. Condition number 17 would require an enhanced landscape plan, which would be an automatic trigger for the previous condition, but the applicant has also opted to require 1 additional plant species beyond what would otherwise be required by the UDO. Condition number 18 would require installation of Energy Star appliances in all units. Condition number 19 will require smart lock or smart home door locks and thermostats for each unit. And condition number 20 would require installation of Ethernet ports with the capability of providing internet service for up to 1 gigabit. And then the last condition is a design standard condition that would enhance the multifamily design elements to include a minimum of 4 architectural elements and 4 variation elements, which would be above and beyond than what the code requires today. So for your consideration, like I mentioned before, all type 3 conditional rezonings come with a concept plan. Those 2 will basically live on together forever with the land. And staff is recommending approval because this proposal is consistent with the town policies, the 2045 growth plan. Here are your motion options. And that will be it for me today. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. I believe the applicant is also here as well.
Anyone have questions of staff?
Robert, do you mind putting the concept plan back on screen, please?
You can.
As I recall, reading through the rezoning application, the package, I know as always the case, there's minimal parking requirements, and I understand that you're using garage parking and driveway parking to help satisfy that. And if I remember correctly, does your guest parking exceed what the requirement is?
So the guest parking that's provided here
Yeah.
is the minimum threshold.
Okay. I've experienced this in the past with projects that go the route of, and this is just comment, I'm neither here nor neither for or against it, just pointing this out, but in the past I've seen projects that use the garages and driveways to meet parking requirements. And 2 things that I've noticed about this is that 1, they almost always seem very claustrophobic. The street layout seems claustrophobic, and regardless of how much you want people to make use of those garages and driveways for parking, there's always people that are going to find that they need to park in the street. I'm a little concerned if all they've done is met the minimal guest parking requirement. I'm concerned that there's going to be, not even though it's minimal requirement, my concern is that guest parking is going to end up being used by residents that live there as opposed to people that are coming to visit those residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, staff? Mr. Swarovski?
Who owns was it Bent Loop? Sorry, what's the name of that road? I can't remember.
Bent Branch Loop.
Big Branch Loop. Who owns that?
So you talking about after you get past the cul-de-sac going into the arborist? I'll let the applicant respond to that. Would you like to hear from them right now, or do you have any other questions for me?
I mean, the
first?
applicant's presenting something, it's fine, or if you want to wait, but here's the reason. Let me explain the reason I'm asking the question. Because I don't see a way how parking is going to be controlled here, but my concern is not the parking. My concern is that this is a private road. These are all private roads that in some time from now, when all of us are gone, someone's going to come back and ask the town to take over maintenance of. So I would like to see some sort of condition that says, unless there's a contiguous public road that will go into the site, that they cannot ask for the town to take over maintenance of this road, or some condition that in their agreements or in their covenants that says that they can never ask for this to become public roadways. If they're private and they want to park all over it, don't care. If it becomes a public road in the town of Clayton, then I care.
Board Member Swarovski, I'm looking at the NCDOT functional class, and that road is classified as a local road.
Yeah, I understand that. So is it built to public street standards?
I've been down that road, and I would say that it's built to the town standards.
Okay.
Going out on a branch out there for that.
Okay. I'm still concerned about it becoming a public road at some point, though. That is my biggest concern about this. I don't see any, well, I'm not going to get into opinions or anything like that. I'm very concerned about this becoming a public road one day, all these roads, including Bent Loop.
Any other questions of staff while we have them? Applewhite?
Under the current planned development zoning, what could go at the site without a rezoning request?
So the master plan calls for multifamily, so they could build multifamily on this property.
Okay. And when the applicant put in their request for the type 3 rezoning, and maybe you can help me. So is single family attached townhome product, but they're using kind of a multifamily framework. Could you speak to, because I was looking at the parking requirements and I was trying to figure out the difference between if it would have been like a typical single family attached product versus what the multifamily product would be. So I was just trying to get a sense of what the difference in parking requirements would be, as well as, I think the private access was another question that I think dovetails with the difference between kind of the single family attached product versus a multifamily product. It's a bit of a broad question, but I was trying to get a sense of what the differences between those two would be, because it seems like it's straddling the line between the two, if you will.
Sure. If you give me a moment, I can take a look. I don't have it off the top of my head, the difference between the two. If you want to hear from the applicant, I can come back and provide a follow-up if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's fine. Any other questions of staff before we hear from the applicant? Okay. You want to get that information for him? At this time, we'll hear from the applicant, please. Please tell us your name and who you're with.
Yep. Good evening, Planning Board and town staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Cole Jordan. I'm with the applicant and the development team to present Arbor's Phase 2 rezoning. This is a project, I'm proud to say, goes beyond the minimum expectations with the town's UDO and reflects a higher standard of development for the Clayton community. I also want to emphasize that our commitment to Clayton is not new, it's proven. Our team has already made significant long-term investments in this community. We are the developer behind Spinning Mill Lofts and the Arbors at East Village Phase 1, which is the parcel directly north of this site. This set a strong foundation for thoughtful, well-designed residential development in this area. These projects reflect the same philosophy we're bringing to Arbors Phase 2. Build with quality, invest for the long term, and contribute positively to the fabric of Clayton. Arbors Phase 2 continues that commitment by raising the bar even higher and delivering a community that aligns with the town's visions for responsible, high-quality growth. Throughout the process, we've worked closely with town staff to ensure that every concern raised was not only addressed, but improved upon. The result is a carefully refined set of conditions of approval that do far more than meet baseline requirements. They elevate the quality, functionality, and long-term value of this project. First, we strengthen our parking and access design well above what the UDO typically allows. We committed to larger functional 18 by 20 foot driveways that can support up to 2 cars. We're providing 1 and 2 car garages that count towards the required parking as part of our conditions. And we reduce driveway spacing to increase total on-site capacity, which goes beyond the standard multifamily parking requirements. Together, these enhancements create a parking supply and circulation pattern that we significantly outperforms the standard multifamily development. We've also committed to added language in each lease to ensure that residents use the garages first for parking because the UDO outlines that they cannot be for 1-car garages. Second, we've enhanced the architectural quality of every building. Our conditions require a minimum of 4 architectural elements and 4 variation elements per building exceeding the UDO's basic articulation standard. This ensures a visually appealing streetscape, reduced building massing, and more durable, high-quality build. Third, we've transformed our open space from something passive into something purposeful. At least half of our open space will be built as true gathering space, with seating, benches, and community areas that encourage interaction and support of a healthier resident experience. Fourth, we're committed to a stronger environmental approach. We're adding more landscape diversity beyond the UDO requirements, preserving mature interior trees when applicable, and implementing a 2-to-1 replacement standard for any preserved tree that is impacted during potential construction. These commitments significantly improve long-term ecological health and canopy quality of the site. Fifth, we've invested heavily in future-ready features for our residents. Arbors Phase 2 will include Energy Star appliances in every unit, smart thermostats, smart locks, at least a gigabit speed of internet with wired Ethernet ports for our work-from-home residents, and level 2 EV-ready circuits in all garages to grow for the future. These enhancements are not required, but they represent the level of quality we believe the town deserves. Finally, we address long-term functionality through cross-access agreements with the Arbors Phase 1. Just so the board knows, we are the owners of the Arbors at Phase 1. That is the site directly north. It is the garden apartment complex. And finally, Finally, we addressed long-term functionality across access agreements. To the Phase 2 site, we're calling this Phase 2, will have access to all the amenities that Arbors Phase 1 has. So the clubhouse, all the open space, the pool, the gym, they will have access to everything there. So at this time, we appreciate the time for collaboration and feedback from town staff during this process and from this board. We respectfully request your support for this project that raises the bar and reflects the strategic vision of the town of Clayton. I can take some questions. I also have my colleague, Kevin Johnston, who's our Chief Operating Officer here, and we have our civil engineer here as well to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Jordan, you said that the garages are going to be used for parking. Mm-hmm. How will you police that and enforce that?
So since this is a multifamily project, we will have, every resident will have a signed lease. We have communicated with town staff and listed in our conditions of approval that we will provide a copy of the lease that we plan to use for this project. Most of our leases are typically standard, but we would add some sort of specific language saying that residents must use the garages for parking first. In our experience, they do tend to get used for storage from time to time. And this language in there allows us as a management team to enforce them to not use the garage for storage, but for parking only. So let's say if the garage is empty, there's a car out in the driveway, let's say it's a one-car garage, and someone is parking in the driveway, we would ensure that they would register their vehicles with us, and if we saw that vehicle was not in the garage, then there would be some sort of lease language about fines in the language. So
there's language in the lease, but you can put anything you want to in a lease. If the garage door is down, you don't know if there's a car in it or it's a mini storage unit they've created there, because my garage, I can't get a car in if I tried. So my question is, how will you, I know you know they're signing it, so legally you have recourse if they don't. My question is, how are you 100% sure they're using it the way you intend?
Kevin Johnston, Chief Operating Officer for Taft Family Ventures. We do periodic inspections of our units, probably quarterly PMIs to go in and make sure HVAC filters have been changed out, et cetera. So we would be able to see that as we walk the units with our manager and our maintenance manager.
Okay. That answered my question. Thank you.
But the thing to point out, though, I mean, we worked hard to try to make the driveways large. We see a lot of townhouse projects all over North Carolina, Southeast, small, single, bay driveways where people park, no sidewalks. I mean, you'll notice on the site plan, we made enough space that the driveways are long enough. If somebody were to park there, and that the work on the unit plans to make sure that the bays are deep enough for cars to be able to park inside instead of outside. And, back to, people are going to have, Super Bowl parties, and they'll have residents come over. But I mean, we do have parking that is shown there on the site, but you'll notice a 3-bedroom unit. I mean, you can literally park 4 cars, 2 inside the garage, 2 outside the garage. Plus we have the whole northern site, Arbors Phase 1, the parking and everything associated, there. So there may be short-lived things like Super Bowl or Daytona 500 race, but I think,
As a general day-to-day thing.
we're over parked right now for what the UDO requirements are for this development. I think by like 100 spaces.
Okay. Have any questions of the applicant?
So I've got a couple. I understand this is a concept plan. How far along are you with your wetland delineation? Is that accurate, what we were seeing
That's
on there?
100% accurate.
That's 100% accurate?
Yes, sir. We worked hard to stay out of that completely, as you see. So all the buffer areas are around that. But that was delineated before we put the site plan together by a wetlands specialist.
Okay. Because the reason I'm asking, and is staff able to pull up GIS so that we can look at this from overhead? While they do that, while they pull that up, one other question. I understand that it sounds like you're consolidating some different parcels. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, because one of the concerns I have, again, I understand this is a concept plan, but and you can speak to this possibly. I understand there's an existing property line and a proposed property line.
Correct.
I'm surprised to see in the plan, as slight as it is, that there's already an encroachment up in the top left corner of the property where the dumpster is across the proposed property line. So I'm kind of wondering, do you guys own all that?
Yes.
And is that going to adjust the property line? Are you going to pull that back? Is there,
Well, let me briefly explain.
Yeah.
So the Phase 1, we're long-term, holders here. We're not coming to build it to sell it. We've owned
yeah.
the Arbors Phase 1 for 10 or 12 years. We own the roads that come in. We haven't asked for anybody to adopt the roads. We don't plan to ask anybody, the city, to adopt the roads. They're private-owned roads. We're used to doing that with our multi-projects. The loan that we have on the first phase is through Housing and Urban Development. That's a 30-year loan. So that portion of the site, just call it between the red and the pink line, is encumbered by that loan.
Okay.
So we're basically, Phase 1 is releasing that sliver off to this phase in order to meet setback requirements and so forth. Phase 1 couldn't do anything with that land to start with. I mean, it's there. Regarding the compactor, we have, I call them juice boxes. We're trying to put a compactor in that's self-contained, that will be a little bit more healthy and so forth. This is conceptual plan. If there's small adjustments that we have to make to get it, moved around correctly, we're going to do that when we get further into the design process. If that answers all your questions.
I think it does at this point. The concern prior to hearing about the consolidation of the parcels was looking at the standalone, trying to understand how you were going to, plat all this out. It's much clearer now at this point. Are you guys able to pull the GIS up?
So we are looking at the National Wetlands Survey, and that map is, we're going to see if we can pull that up here so we all can look at that. Just give us another minute or two.
We'd be glad to send you the wetlands delineation that a wetland specialist, they went out, flagged the site. There's probably flags still out there. That information was provided to the surveyor. That area down there is based on the survey data.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is when I've looked at the GIS, and I understand the function of them coming in and doing the environmental study and delineating the wetlands, there's a clear distinction on the GIS when you look at it from above. There's basically a line there that you would typically see in a wet area. I'm not an expert though, but I've looked at enough of those where you can see a clear line there where a large portion of what would be the western portion of the property has a lot of, if they're able to pull it up, we'll see that and maybe we can talk through it.
What you're probably describing is probably more hardwood, cypress or whatever that's growing in there. The loan on this phase here will be through Housing and Urban Development. U.S. Housing and Urban Development are very keenly interested in impacting of wetlands, which is why we delineated it, which is why you will see we are not impacting it at all. If we impacted the wetland, we have to go through this 8-step process that HUD has that, goes through a lot of excruciating detail, but we're pretty confident, because we deal with it quite a bit, that it's been delineated properly and we're not impacting it.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions of the applicant?
Yeah, this may be something that's more suited to your civil engineer, but the conceptual site plan looks like it's a great candidate for the site to be mass graded. Do you know if that is the plan, or are you going to try and save areas, mass grading or not?
Well, it's a tight site.
Yeah.
Obviously, we heard the neighbors' concern with trees. We want to preserve around the buffer area as much of the trees that are there now. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to mass grade it to put utilities and sewer, et cetera, and get it all on grade, for the building. So we want to be able to preserve what's there around the peripheral.
Okay.
Anyone else with a question?
Yeah, that was my concern as well, looking at just the 10-foot buffer around the perimeter of the property, because, this is a pretty significant visual area when you're coming in and you're coming around the roundabout. And so I would hope that you wouldn't just be looking at the back of some nice townhomes, that there would be enough of a landscape buffer so that would not be the case.
Again, they're 2-story, right? If we had put what's arbors or 3-story buildings, so we would put there what was zoned, it's going to stick out a lot more, obviously. We're hoping that you won't even see them, especially, they're green, most of it's pine that's in there now, that you won't be able to see a whole lot of it if we preserve the greenery that's there, because it's 2-story townhouses. And I believe, Josh, it's 20 foot? 20-foot buffer is what the UDO requirement is.
Okay, who else has a question? Nita?
In reading the restrictions or the conditions and in listening to you, a couple or 3 times you've mentioned that they're upscale units. Are you willing to share an average cost of your anticipated rent?
We haven't fully designed the project yet. Costs go up and down depending on what we choose. I would say, typically for this standard, minimum cost is going to be 200,000, but it can creep upwards of, 250. It just depends on what materials you choose. And as we listed in our condition, we are committed to providing more architectural elements and variations that are required for multifamily projects right now. But again, we haven't designed the buildings at all. So at this point, I can't say. It depends on siding. If we do like vinyl or Hardy's, Hardy's way more expensive than vinyl. It just depends on what we design, but we haven't got that far in the process.
Yes, sir. I was asking about the rent per unit. I was asking about the rent per unit.
You don't have any
The rent?
idea what the typical rent amount would be per unit?
Oh, I'm sorry. I misheard you.
That's okay.
Rents for this project are typically in low 2,000s for such a big product type. I'm not sure what our rents are today for these are 2 and 3 bedroom units. I would say the arbors and spinning mills, when you get to 3 bedrooms, they're creeping up to the probably, I would say, 1,700, 1,800 mark, but they don't have garages. They're much smaller units. They won't have, all the, new stuff put in like EV level chargers, stuff like that. So that's why the rents would be a little higher than what you would see for a typical apartment complex.
Another question here.
And you may have already answered this when you started talking about the HUD loan. Was there any consideration for, with this site in the 2045 comprehensive growth plan is downtown support? That obviously includes residential. It also includes some commercial retail components as well. Was there any consideration for retail or other commercial shops, restaurants, anything like that?
We need more folks to come eat our pizza at Luna Pizza that we just put in right down at Spinning Mill. There hasn't been, sir. Because it was zone residential, and we're trying to bring another product type into the market, another housing choice. Spinning Mill is another project that we did. We took that building as it was and took it to, I hope you all have toured it to see what's inside and what it looks like now. And then we put the Luna Pizza out in front of that. So this is just offering another rental choice to attract more people into Clayton. It's closer in than if you drive further down 43, to get to what they're building down there, which is a for sale by product. So.
Okay. And then one quick question. The units that are on the south side of this image right here, they're facing Front Street, and then they'll have a landscape buffer in front of them. So the front door will be facing the pines or whatever existing vegetation is there. Right. Okay.
That's basically that blue pink area there.
Okay.
That's that.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, this is a public meeting. We're going to ask members of the public who would like to speak to come up in just a moment. Before we do that, I usually like to let folks know here that the board that you're looking at this evening is a volunteer board that is appointed to these positions. All we do at this meeting tonight is make a recommendation one way or the other to the elected board, which is the Clayton Town Council. They will take our recommendation into advisement, and then they will make the final decision on what happens with this project this evening. When you come forward to speak, we'd like for you to state your name, your address, and we're going to, unfortunately, there are a lot of people here, so we're going to put you on about a 3-minute timer, and I'm going to ask Conrad if he would keep up with the time for us. And we will start at this time. Who would like to be first to speak? Come right up, ma'am. Come right ahead. You may have to bend that over just a little bit.
My name is Mary Ann Gebler. I live at 94 Beaufort Loop in the walk at the Front Street. I have some concerns. Number one, our community is still being, built and developed. You've got the arbors, and now you've got the spinning mill project. To me, that's a very high density, and yet you're going to entertain building more things that would provide even more density. I had some concerns about the environmental impact. I think they've been addressed. I have another concern. Has there been a traffic study done? Because Front Street is a little street, and you're adding more and more and more traffic to that. Has there been a traffic statement done?
Has there been a traffic study done? Did this warrant one based on it did not? There's certain standards that have to be met in order to warrant a traffic study, and if one was not done, then they did not.
What are
rise to the
those standards?
I don't work for the traffic department. I don't know the answer to that. Conrad can speak to that, or Robert.
I'm looking right now through the documents. Give me one moment. I can get.
Yeah, because it seems to me, there's already significant traffic from these three areas on Front Street, and yet you're going to add a fourth. And you've got that four-way stop intersection, which is a pretty big backup right now during certain hours of the day.
Sure.
So that's my concern.
Okay, thank you. Who's next? Come on, ma'am. Y'all don't have to raise your hands. When one sits down, you can just pop up like popcorn.
Hi, good evening. Tanessa Zort. I'm at 278 Bella Square in Smithfield, soon to be Bent Branch Loop. I'm the property manager at the Arbors at East Village. I've been there 4 years. And I absolutely love TMG. I love the property. And being a relocator myself from New York, this is my home. I would never look back. I enjoy Clayton. I love all of the people that are relocating to Clayton. We're growing. I will say that I am heavily involved with the Chamber of Clayton downtown. The Arbor sponsors a lot of stuff downtown. So I love to see the growth, bringing more people into Clayton to support this. I don't know anything about the traffic laws, but I will say out our front window, traffic seems to flow on a daily. We're there 8:30 to 6 every day and 10 to 4 on Saturdays. And I mean, I don't see any holdups. Again, I know I'm not, traffic control or anything like that, but I'm excited if this project, continues. I think it would be great growth for Clayton, more people, more revenue, good things to come for Clayton. So that's all. Just wanted to say hello and put a name to the face. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Kevin Sparrow. I'm at 223 Creek Drive in Garner. I have a question. I've gotten a couple different letters for a couple of different plans. May I just ask, is this on Front Street or is it the exact location of it? I wasn't clear because I don't see any streets on here, and I apologize for having to ask that.
It appears access is off Front Street.
Off of Front Street, okay. All right, and based on your question, a good question about the rents and the cost, then based on that, I would too be real concerned about the traffic flow, because to me, and I'm not ageist or whatever you want to call it, but for the money that's going to be paid for those particular units, it seemed like it would be the demographics that would reside here would be younger than I am. So as far as the weekends and I guess activities and these different NASCAR parties and whatever you guys spoke about a few moments ago, I would see a significant reason to be concerned about the parking there, because you have these short driveways, and it's, what the hope would be for people to park in those garages. But for me, I do come downtown quite a bit, but for what's going on with the parking for this amount of units and for the monies that's going to be attracting the residents there, I would be very, very concerned about the parking also. So that's all I wanted to comment on. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
My name is Arnold Frederick Kebler III, Mary Ann's husband, live in the Walk at East Village. And my concern is also about traffic. I know that this is the planning group, but I know you have colleagues with the town and with the state. And I think that it's getting to the point where we will need a traffic signal where we have the egress from the walk at East Village. That is a road that is maintained. We talked about roads and everything. Just the Village Walk Drive into the walk at East Village is maintained. Recently, with the snow, was plowed and everything by the, I guess, town. So I think that needs to be investigated. We live in the walk at East Village in Phase 1, which the Taft organization built. And so this is something that I know they take great pride in the appearance with the berm that they put along the East Village entrance. This is something that I think that needs to be more clarified a little more specifically than I heard tonight about the plantings on Front Street. This is a very congested proposal, this concept plan, and I don't see where there's going to be space for significant trees of any size that would be up to the standards, or even a berm if that's something they later would look into. But I think that having been the original builders, they're not the current developer there at the walk at East Village, but at the outset, they were very concerned with aesthetics. And I hope that this would be maintained along with their other properties that they've done along Front Street. And so whatever you can do specifically to look into this, trees and plantings, berm, would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public that wishes to be heard this evening in regards to this particular item?
Yes, Gregory Jones, 110. I have several properties that back up to this on Front Street. My main concerns are I first want to compliment them on the product that they've already put in. They're good neighbors, and I'm not my backyard type of person. I just do have some of the same concerns everybody had. As a property owner in town, I have a problem with the private road being upkept. There's nothing that would allow the town that I know of to have them keep it up to a certain thing. I believe these people would, but if I live 10 years longer, they might not own it and couldn't be assured that the road and everything, once the infrastructure starts crumbling in these places, it's downhill. I'm also concerned about some of these, it's going to be the devil's in the details of the landscaping. Like the First Lady said, this is a prominent area. They've maintained the area and developed it very well within the site and what they had to work with. I'm a little concerned about the siting of some of this, and there's a lot of product on this. So the buffer, landscape buffer, the way that it's done needs to really be delineated, unless we're going to end up with something like we have out on 42, which is, I don't think, the new development out there is not representative of what Clayton wants to work towards. It just doesn't look like Clayton. It doesn't feel like Clayton. I'm not sure what it feels like. But thank you. If you'd keep those things in mind, would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else this evening in regards to this item? Okay. This time I will entertain a motion from the board regarding this.
Chairman Dupree, I'll make a motion.
Okay. Mr. Roski makes a motion. Go right ahead.
I'm going to motion to approve consistent with the 2045 Comprehensive Growth Plan. I make a motion to recommend approval of 2025-41 CZM Arbors at East Village Phase 2 based on consistency with the adopted 2045 Comprehensive Growth Plan, and that Policy LU 1.1 seeks to encourage quality development through the implementation of the plans and regulations adopted by the Town Council. Policy LU 1.6 seeks to promote development in areas programmed to mitigate adverse impacts. Policy LU 3.1 seeks to promote a range of housing types. Policy DT 1.4 seeks to promote increased residential activity in downtown. This action is reasonable and in public interest in that the request is overall consistent with the 2045 Comprehensive Growth Plan, adding to the housing supply and introducing a new housing option to the surrounding area.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Roski to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second from Board Member Bland. Any comment? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed by like sign?
No.
Let it be known, the motion passes. All right.
Hey, Chair, can I make one comment real quick?
Sure.
I thought we would have more comments. I was ready to make more comments on this one, but I want to make two comments about this. One is I'm still concerned about the private streets, but number two, and one thing I want to mention to you all and to the audience, I always bring up services, right? We always talk about housing and services. This is close to downtown. I'm a little concerned that people are coming here and saying that it shouldn't be density in downtown. The place where there should be density is downtown. And so the reason why I made the motion is because I believe not only is this dense enough, but I think it probably should be denser, but I like the product. I like what they did. So this is a good transitional use between what's there and what's on Front Street. And I think we need to look at more dense properties in the downtown core area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Item 5B on the agenda this evening is 2025-147-RZ, the Powhatan self-storage rezoning. And I think we're going to hear from Ms. Bryant.
Good evening, Planning Board. My name is Lori Bryant, Planner 1 with the Town of Clayton Planning Department. And this evening, I'll be presenting an item initiated by the town. 2025-147-RZ is Powhatan self-storage. It's a conventional, rezoning request going from split zoning residential large lot and corridor commercial to a consolidated zoning of corridor commercial. The subject property is 1.34 acres and it's located east of the intersection of Clayton Boulevard and Powhatan Road. The current use for this site is a self-storage facility, and the subject parcel is a supporting parking lot area of this particular use. This request has been noticed, and the slide here is just showing the locations of those signs that were posted on February 13th ahead of this meeting. Before you are maps showing the current and proposed zoning for this property. For your benefit and your awareness, this proposal is town initiated to correct an existing split zoning on the subject property. In 2023, there was an approved SUP issued for the building and the associated use. That approval applies only to the portion of the property that is currently zoned corridor commercial. The planning department is initiating this rezoning to consolidate the zoning districts into a single CRM or corridor commercial zoning district so that the SUP can apply to the entire site. This request is technical with respect to zoning only, and it does not allow in any way any alterations, any new development or expansion to the previously approved SUP under the Unified Development Code. This request is consistent with both the growth plan for 2045 and the future land use map designation as employment center, as it supports an existing developed site and maintains land use patterns aligned with employment-focused development. After review of the request and consideration of the adopted policy, the Planning Department recommends the following approval consistent with the 2045 Comprehensive Growth Plan for this rezoning request. What you see before you is a list of motions that you may act on. Again, the Planning Department is recommending approval as shown here in red, and you also have the motions found in your agenda packet. And that will conclude my presentation for this evening. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Have any questions of staff? All right.
I've got one. Can you, I know you explained kind of how this initiated, it started with the town. What was the trigger for this? Why was this one parcel selected? I'm just curious. And then as I correct me if I'm wrong, as I looked through the packet, and I just noticed this, I would have reached out earlier. It looks like a letter was sent out to adjoining property owners on October the 16th, it looks like in here, but then it says it was done in February, so I'm just curious on that. So I'm not as concerned about this property as I am ones we might have downstream in the future. And I'm just curious as to kind of what initiated it, why we're going down this path with this one single parcel.
So at the time, we are unaware as to the circumstances as to why it wasn't rezoned during the 2023 SUP. Town staff just came upon this, and we just wanted to make sure that we corrected this to make sure that we have consistency with the future land use map. There was a neighborhood meeting held back in October of last year, so that may be the neighborhood meeting letters that you saw going out to the adjacent property owners, just for notification.
And the actual property owner for this property, where do they stand on this? They understand, I mean, I'm sure they were part of the notification.
They were, and we've had conversations, myself and our assistant planning director, before, well, actually, I believe it was back in October, well, before then, but we had conversations with the owner, and they were aware of our request and how we wanted to move forward, and they were perfectly fine. They gave the consent for that.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
I'm assuming the property owner's not here.
They are not.
Okay.
They left it to us to handle on their behalf.
Okay. Any other questions of staff or comments to staff? Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
all.
At this time, this is a public meeting. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to be heard on this particular matter? Seeing none, then I will turn it over to this board for their motion and recommendation.
I'll make the motion. I move for approval consistent with the 2045 Comprehensive Growth Plan. I make a motion to recommend approval of 2025-147-RZ Palatine Self-Storage rezoning based on consistency with the adopted 2045 Comprehensive Growth Plan, in that policy ED 1.2, strategy ED 1.2.2, protect industrial land uses by encouraging compatible uses within and near the employment center areas identified on the future land use map. Secondly, policy ED 1.5, strategy ED 1.5.1, which promotes business retention and expansion efforts, ensuring that the zoning accurately reflects the existing development, helps support continued operation of the established business, and reinforces the town's commitment to economic stability and growth. This action is reasonable and in the public interest, in that the request is overall consistent with the 2045 Comprehensive Growth Plan, as it ensures zoning consistency across the entire parcel without creating any new impacts, and supports the intent of the commercial corridor district.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like sign? Motion carries. All right. Item 5C on the agenda, 2026-05-RZ, Kenny Troxler Jurgen, Tree of Life Properties, conventional rezoning. We'll now hear from staff.
All right, good evening again, Chair, Planning Board, Robert Tate, Senior Planner with the town. Before you tonight is a conventional rezoning project number 2026-05-RZ. This is for a collection of properties along Cornwallis Road and Veterans Parkway. The request is to rezone subject parcels from the Johnson County Zoning District of Agricultural Residential to the Town of Clayton's Large Lot Residential Zoning District. The collection of properties make up over 476 acres, and today it is mostly vacant and undeveloped. And here is a map showing the posted notice. Here is that posted notice. And then here's that current zoning and proposed zoning. So we're bringing this into the town. So it's going to have the RLL designation, which is the residential large lot. So a little bit of history about this project. So this project has already been discussed by town council. An annexation petition was submitted to the town a few years ago, and we got it approved by town council on November 17th. They provided an effective date of February 16th of this year. And due to general statute, the applicant in the town has 60 days to provide zoning for any properties that are annexed into the town. So the applicant has come in with a conventional rezoning to kind of lay out the zoning so that there's zoning on the property. And the intent is to come back to the town with a conditional rezoning to kind of share more of what their plans are for the property. So today is kind of just, they're just applying just a, a placeholder type of zoning right now that's consistent with the surrounding area. And as far as consistency and compatibility, because this collection of properties are outside of the ETJ, there is no future land use map designation. There is, however, the Gateway 42 small area plan that provides some guidance similar to our growth plan. And here, the properties are designated as low density residential, complete communities, and complete community commercial areas. So a lot of, just to say essentially low density residential, but also some commercial components also along the corridors within this region or this area. So for your consideration tonight is to approve this request consistent with the growth, inconsistent with the growth plan. And here is your motion options. And that is all for me today. The applicant is here to share any additional information or answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of staff?
Yeah, I have a question.
All right, Mrs. Russell.
If we obviously don't have a plan with this, right? There's no plan with this. How do we know whether this is going to be a conservation subdivision, a single-family detached, non-residential? How do we know what the uses are going to be on it? Do we have an idea of how many units per acre? Can we get more specifics, or are we not allowed to have specifics according to the UDO?
So because this is a conventional rezoning, there are no conditions associated, but there are questions you may ask the applicant at this time that I believe they can share with you.
Will they have to go through a conditional rezoning at all on this property, or will they be able to do by right zoning with this RLO?
Great question. So they would be able to do by right zoning as well, or by right development.
And if they did by right, how many units could they put on here?
That I don't have on me at the moment, but we can provide that.
Okay.
What about, does the town have the utility capacity, water, sewer, whatever, to accommodate a site that's 5 miles from here? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, and I know it's been annexed, so that's a moot point, but in my mind, I'm thinking we're putting ourselves in another Riverwood scenario where you've got a town, part of our town is 4 miles away to the north, and now we're going to have another piece of our town that's 5 miles away with country and ETJ in between. And it amuses me that if this comes to fruition, the town will send the police department out 5 miles from here, but they won't come to 2 miles from here to my house if I have an issue. I'm intrigued by the entire thing, but my main question is, does the town have utility capacity support whatever's going to go on out here? Because honestly, we have no idea. I know what is put forth now, but we have no idea ultimately what the zoning, the rezoning is going to be at this time.
Yeah, it looks like I have some help to answer that question.
Good evening, board members. Kinsey Holton, Assistant Director of Engineering. Was expecting the comment and looked back through the presentation that Town Manager Rich Capola provided to Town Council. The expectation for providing water is to the completion of the Copper District Elevated Storage Tank, which is slated for completion early 2027. Will provide additional storage and fire flows to this area. And the sewer, so that'll be still served through the Johnson County system, but it will be provided for that section by the town. For the sewer, we will be able to use our allocation with Johnston County for sewer treatment that will be made available by the completion of the ECIA gravity system in the Sam Branch Water Reclamation Facility. So we're basically setting it up, certainly for the level that this zoning has, we can accommodate. We will have to see rezoning and the actual volumes that will be proposed at that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. More questions?
Yeah, I've got one. Who picked RLL? For the who picked RLL?
So during the pre-application conference timeline, the applicant asked staff what would make sense as a placeholder that's consistent with the surrounding area, and RL would be the most consistent of the zoning districts that we have.
And when that discussion took place, was there any talk about what was actually going to end up there? Because I know, like we alluded to already, we're going to have to readdress this at a future point as well.
Sure. I'm not too familiar with the conversations held at that time, but I believe maybe the applicant can provide that for you.
Okay.
Any other questions of staff?
To build on that, so and I apologize for keep bringing this up, is the intention to come back with a conditional rezoning to, I know this is an initial zoning because of the annexation, but is the intent to come back with a conditional use rezoning?
That's right.
Yes?
That's right. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we're going to get another opportunity at this at some point. Go ahead.
Just for, by way of background, if this board recommended to not approve to town council then rejected this zoning request, what would happen to the annexation petition?
So that's a great question. I would need to take a look at the state statute, but my understanding is that the town would have to essentially enact a zoning district.
Okay, just, something would have to go there.
Something has to go there.
But it doesn't do anything with the annexation as a.
And that's the part I'm discussing, that I would have to look back at general statute in that regard. But zoning has to be established.
They were just required to go through this process within 60 days.
That's right.
It's not a guaranteed outcome to that process.
I believe that's right.
Right. Any other questions of the staff?
So just a knowledge, I looked this up earlier. So the county zoning was AR. So the zoning that this is consistent with the AR, but I do want to mention that in the AR zoning that the county had, that if they did come back with a conditional use zoning in the county, they could do 6 units per acre. In the county, I know. When I looked that up, I couldn't believe it, but it would be a conditional use zoning on that AR, so they would have to get it approved through public hearings in the county. So right now, it's consistent with the type of use that you could put on an AR in the county is consistent with this zoning type.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I believe the applicant has a presentation.
Be fine. At this time, we'll hear from the applicant.
Good evening, Chairman Dupree and members of the Planning Board. My name is Marty Biswell. I'm with Bassix and Kennedy Engineers, 6310 Chapel Hill Road in Raleigh. Robert did an excellent job presenting and stole a lot of my thunder. A lot of what I'm presenting to you tonight is more of a procedural type thing, and you guys have already asked a lot of questions that I'm going to try to answer as I go through. But as has been mentioned tonight, these 4 properties, and I am representing all 4 properties, were annexed previously in November, I think November 17th, by the town council. Those are listed here and their annexation numbers as assigned by the town. Robert has already described where the properties are. Here's the 4 properties. They are contiguous. And these are just slides of the property with the acreage that you have in your packets. I say this is procedural in that if you have ever gone through annexation like this, a lot of times if it's coming from the county, which these properties were in the county jurisdiction, as been mentioned before, they were AR. There was a sliver on the corner of the Kenny properties up along Veterans Parkway that was zoned general business. That a lot of times when they bring in a tract of land and annex it, a municipality will just go ahead and assign a zoning district to it. With much research with town staff, as well as myself, and a lot of input from various parties, it was determined that in this case, the town would prefer for the applicant to actually apply for that placeholder zoning. So if you've ever been a part of it, you may have seen when a property is annexed, it has just been assigned a placeholder. In this case, it was decided that we would actually do that and go through that. And I say placeholder zoning, as already been mentioned before. I sat down, not necessarily with Robert, but Haley Downey, Assistant Planning Director, back before she went out on maternity leave, and we talked about what would be the placeholder zoning that we should be applying for, and it was determined and agreed by myself, Haley, and my clients, the property owners, that the RLL was a close relationship to AR. Because in this case, this is a placeholder zoning. This is not what these properties will ultimately be developed to. We don't have that to show to you tonight, but in the future, we will be presenting a conditional use with a master plan of what these properties will look like, at the time they develop. So we are really trying to maintain the procedure as far as being zoned in 60 days of the effective date, which has already been mentioned was February 16th last week. And we're basically staff gave us enough time to actually have our neighborhood meeting, our pre-app meeting, go through the staff review, and then obviously before you tonight, then moving forward to town council, hopefully next month. So I say procedural, so we're trying to get all that done in 60 days so that we're compliant with the general statutes. So I do have some slides on the RLL. Being on the planning board, I'm sure you guys are aware of what residential large lot entails, but it's basically, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. We're actually not going to do any of it. The conservation subdivision is mentioned in there, minimum lot sizes of 20,000 square feet. Those kinds of things are listed in RLL, but rest assured, we will be back before you with a conditional zoning with a master plan and a narrative to describe what we're planning on developing at that time. So basically, just going through, I had this up just in case there were questions on the RLL zoning district, but this is straight out of the code. And like I say, we do not propose to develop to that RLL at all. With that, I am here for any questions that you may have. And I do want to go ahead and mention try to answer the questions that have already been brought up. One, the water and sewer, and Kenzie mentioned that a little bit earlier, but the water and sewer allocation, there was a interlocal agreement that was between the town and Johnston County to basically, it was an interlocal agreement that basically allocated water and sewer to the county's facilities. It is an agreement that was approved on that night after the annexation. That basically there are facilities already there that are the county's facilities as far as a sewer pump station that all of this land that we're looking at tonight flow to that pump station. And so there was this basically memorialized that agreement between the town of Clayton and Johnston County to where these properties could be served. So that has been approved by the town council and Johnston County. Going back to the fire and police, we discussed that in depth at neighborhood meetings, and we also talked about it at the council meeting. As you're probably aware, the town is constructing a Southwest Public Safety Center. That is exactly 2.8 miles east of this project or these properties. So the intent is for the fire and police services to be, these properties be served out of that facility. So great question on that. It is also immediately across from the Cleveland fire station, but ultimately it will be served by the town. So I think that answered most of those questions, but I guess my point being is that we would request that you approve this placeholder zoning, and we will be back before you in the future. So with that, any questions, I'd be glad to take those.
Any questions of the applicant?
I don't have any questions because I don't disagree with this, but I have advice that as someone who lives in this area and affectionately calls Cornwallis Road the I-40 bypass, what I would love to see out of your conditional use rezoning plan when you bring it back to us is try to keep as people on site as much as possible.
Right.
What we talked about a lot when we did the comprehensive transportation plan was trying to create village areas or village sectors. And you have an opportunity here with almost 500 acres to create a village center to keep people there and not have them get on Veterans Parkway and drive down the street and drive places. So my hope is that as you develop this, that it's a smart development that acts like a gathering center, not just a place where people are going to come in the morning, leave in the morning, drive down Cornwallis Road or Veterans Parkway to I-40 or to future 540 and come back in the evening. I'm hoping that it's going to be a place where people stay, play, work, live, and eat, grow, and all that. So it's my only suggestion and advice for you as someone that lives very close to here, because I've seen other county developments where it's literally just houses upon houses on top of houses. If you've driven down Cornwallis, you've seen all the new houses that are down there. Right. And my hope is, as 40 has come to be and as it's been widened, that we've gotten less of an I-40 bypass on Cornwallis Road.
Right.
I really don't want to see that I-40 bypass come back with the amount of traffic we had on there. DOT is way behind on our 3410, which is the widening of Veterans Parkway. So do what you can to try to keep people there as much as possible.
Right. No, I appreciate that. And, to that, and I did not mention, but the town's Gateway 42 small area plan mentions a lot of what you just talked about that we certainly will adhere to on that master plan. But I appreciate the comments.
Any other questions of the applicant? Mr. Applewhite? See your green light on.
I have 3 questions. One, the Tree of Life Church, that house, I think is it a historic property, and will it remain in any new development?
Currently with this development, we're not proposing anything. The historic house is most likely, not letting any cats out of the bag, but most likely will remain on a separate parcel. The Tree of Life actually is a parcel south of that.
Okay.
That was basically dedicated to the church by Mr. Troxler.
Perfect.
For their use. So.
Okay. Secondly, I know we're talking broad strokes here. Do you envision that when this development gets underway, that there will be road improvements along Cornwallis? And I say that because I know that folks get backed up so far all the way down to the roundabout, almost to Cleveland School Road, heading toward Raleigh, Garner area. So I don't know if that's been a discussion already of what it is expected.
It has. We fully intend and know that we will do a TIA for this whole area. Going back in history, we actually had a TIA done early on. That's going to be updated, obviously. We've been in close contact with DOT. We have all of their files as they exist today that we have brought in. So we know, some of their improvements to the intersection extend south a little bit, but we understand that, we will have improvements to do on Cornwallis, and potentially, most likely we will be staying out of DOT's way on Veterans Parkway. Right. But outside those extents, we fully anticipate it. The TIA before basically included a series of turn lanes, basically a center turn lane recommended all the way down to Swift Creek, if you're familiar with it, which is the southern portion of the Trox Road. And also left and right turn lanes at each potential entrance. So I think that would probably be a starting point today, because we're going to fast forward with new traffic counts And so we fully anticipate that for sure.
Okay. And then final question, and this really has you looking in the crystal ball. When do you envision that perfect world you would come back for conditional rezoning?
That's a great question, and we really do not have a target date.
Okay.
I would say relatively soon. Probably won't be next month or the month after, but it'll be fairly soon.
Okay.
These are big hurdles that these clients, and we've been working together a long time
Right.
on this interlocal agreement with the county, and because and myself and the town manager and a lot of staff has put a lot of effort into getting this, because we did not want to bring a request to any board with the town asking for annexation of 500 acres and say, annex us and we'll worry about the water and sewer later. That has all been buttoned up by, a lot of work. So we can stand here today and say the water and the sewer, those issues have been addressed. But it didn't happen overnight. So,
Great.
So anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do. So I've looked at the property, and it looks like you guys are zoned for a Cleveland High School. And I would expect Cleveland Middle School. Would that also carry over to the elementary school?
That's a great question. I would say possibly. Possibly. Not 100% sure. There's a number of schools out that way. I'm not exactly sure how that would be divvied up as far as the schools. I know, Westview is not far from there.
That's right.
Not Westview, but the one on 1010, I can't think, near 40. Swift Creek is not that far.
There are
east.
2 new middle schools out that direction. I know it's Cleveland
Yeah.
High School. I'm just always worried about school crowding, not that
Right.
affects anything what we're doing. I
Yeah,
just wanted to
and
ask the
that's a
question.
good point. I know we don't typically talk about school capacities at the town, but it is a concern. I can tell you, I've sat here, we have met with the school board in recent years, and kind of showed a blank slate, blank page to them. So they are aware of us as well. So a good point, though. Good point.
This is an interesting one. I hadn't even considered that before you asked your question, but if the GIS is correct, this is very interesting. The east side of the road is Cleveland Elementary School on the school district, and the west side of the road is Westview Elementary School. If the GIS is correct, and
nothing changes.
yeah, and it's interesting.
All right, any other questions, comments of the applicant? All right. Thank you, Marty. Appreciate that. At this time, we will entertain anyone from the public who would like to be heard regarding this. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak? Come right up, ma'am.
I'm Allison Squires. I live at 108 Samantha Drive, Garner, which is just past these properties on the right in South Hill subdivision, but I also own the property at 5317 Cornwallis, which is surrounded on 3 sides by this development. It's a neighborhood commercial property. So I have lots of questions. First of all, I don't understand. I feel like Town of Clayton opened a can of worms here by annexing this property. Everything you just said, my daughter goes to Cleveland High School. I know these, and I posted this on Nextdoor because that is a huge concern of mine. Town of Clayton's getting a win-win here. They are not dealing with the overcrowding, the roads, the schools, but they're getting the tax revenue. How is that fair? They're not utilizing the fire station that's right across the road. But they're getting the tax revenue. So that's a huge concern of mine. The road improvements that he brought up, I've been to several meetings of NCDOT in this very room, And they cannot, NCDOT is not going to do anything on that historic property. They cannot build a road, they cannot extend the road, they cannot put a turn lane, they cannot put anything on that historic home, which is just, it abuts my property. So they're going to taper down the extension from Cornwallis and Veterans Parkway. That is going to be, start out as two more lanes up there, and it's going to taper down right at my property. But then how can they extend it and put in additional lanes if they, what are they going to taper down, stay narrow for the length of that historic property and then taper back out? It just, there's so many questions. And this is a great learning opportunity for me and maybe the public. Like, when the town made a decision on annexation, is that a public process? Like, I don't know how I missed that. I would have loved to have been at that meeting. Because I think it was a horrible decision. You know, Town of Clayton, all due respect, I love it. I come here for performances, you know, it's a great town. It doesn't belong at Cornwallis and 42 or 36. You know, I go to Holy Cross Lutheran Church, and Town of Clayton is slowly coming down there, and they just got the property there at Holy Cross, but that's still several miles down the road. So I just don't see Town of Clayton being right here. I don't think it makes sense. Your job here, I appreciate your volunteerism, but I would love to see those 4 choices again on what they can do. I know you have to do something, but just like somebody said, RLL, they are not required to come back with conditional rezoning. They say they will, that's great, that's wonderful, but according to, you know, the pictures we saw, manufactured housing is allowed in RLL. I would like not to see that. I feel like a site plan should have been presented when they annexed this property. They have done everything backwards with this entire situation. Let's annex and then put a placeholder. If a placeholder was put in place, there had to be a conversation about what the property owners wanted to do with the land. If they know what they want to do with the land, why isn't there a site plan when it was annexed? So everything is so backwards, it's shady. Johnston County had denied their first site plan. So that's a question for Town of Clayton. Why'd they deny it? If Johnston County didn't think it was a good idea for the subdivision, why does Town of Clayton think inequitable zoning is a good idea? So there's so much going on here. I know I'm over 3 minutes. I'll try to hurry. County AR, you said 6 units an acre, but RLL is talking about, you know, the conservation subdivision. That was part of the issue with Johnston County, is this has a lot of wetlands on this property. So you can't build on the 476 acres. So what they were doing is putting higher density on the buildable land to make up for the wetland, lower, you know, that they can't build on. So that needs to be addressed, I feel like, before zoning is decided. There's so many more. Can I come back up if I think of more questions after other people talk? But I'll stop now.
You can't come back up tonight, only because we can't do that. But I will tell you that some of your questions could be answered when they had public meetings, and they will probably have more meetings at some point in the future when they do something that you can go to. But also the town council will meet next time to consider whatever our recommendation is tonight. You're welcome to come that night as well.
Okay.
And that will be at the next town council.
What about the annexation? Was that a public process?
Comments are always, the town always takes comments on anything regarding that, but this board doesn't
They don't
decide
notify
annex.
property owners, nearby property owners.
I don't know the answer to that. Conrad, can you answer that question? Did they notify property owners when annexation is considered satellite annexation?
So the annexation was noticed through the legal ad, and it was done through a public hearing, and it was, so we do resolutions to do a sufficiency check, and then we do a resolution to set the date of the public hearing, and that's where the public hearing was held on November 17th of last year.
But they didn't send out letters.
No, we don't send letters for annexations. What we do is we do legal ad postings. We don't do
because
posting of the property.
I would just say typically when some of the stuff you saw tonight, it is a square sitting here, and it's very easy to send letters out to everybody within a certain distance of that square. When you've got a 500 acre annexation, there's a lot of people to try to figure out who's within a certain distance of that. So that's why it's more of a public notice thing to people can come at that date. And there's signs up there as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're tiny on 500 acres and they're kind of hard to see. I mean, I own the property next door and I didn't see the sign. I only knew from the letter, so I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Come, sir, you got to come up here, please, if you would. Give us your name and your address, please.
Good evening. My name's Scott Scherer. I live at 133 Bobby Drive in Garner, and I was wondering if I could give her my 3 minutes.
No.
I can't? Okay. All right.
Thank you for asking.
So, well, then I do have a question then, since I'm up here. I just have a question about the water and sewer agreements between Johnson County and Town of Clayton. Was it based on large lot buildings, large lot homes? And excuse me if I don't get terminology correct, but because there's a big difference, because the original, and everything could change, but the original meeting that we went to, it was 650 homes, plus some apartments on Highway 42 and some townhouses as well. So I'm just curious if maybe that doesn't even make a difference, because there's going to be another, they'll come in and say, okay, we want to put 400 homes or whatever it is. Does that make a difference with those agreements? Or does it have any bearing on the next meeting to get the conditional rezoning?
I can't give you the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. Okay. Obviously, what they're planning could change.
Sure.
Just like the traffic study. They did a traffic study. They will have to do another traffic study because clearly enough time goes by and studies become obsolete.
Okay.
So I don't know the answer to that question.
Chairman Bree, can we ask the applicant what allocation that they agreed to in their agreement, the interlocal agreements?
We can. Or do you want to speak to that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will try my best. The interlocal agreement between the town and Johnston County, to my knowledge, it obviously talks about a number of gallons per day. And I was trying to see if I had a copy of it. I don't think I have a copy right in front of me, but it does talk about a number of gallons per day allocated for these properties. We work closely with the town with different scenarios as far as what the demand might be. There were no site plans that were formalized, just not knowing what exactly our master plan was going to be. But we did have input. Also in that agreement, you will notice the properties that are affected by that could actually gravity to the pump station. So the town actually included additional allocation for future properties. So the number of that, and it leaves me, but that number that is in the interlocal agreement includes other properties besides these, which is just good planning, trying to make sure that, we're accommodating everything. And it also, if you get into the weeds of that agreement, it also talks about potential upgrades to that anyone that develops will need to enter into a developer's agreement to help pay for those on a pro rata basis. But yeah, there is a definite gallons per day allocation that is, and Kenzie, I don't think, you probably don't have it either. I wish I had the agreement, but it is filed, with the clerks, and it's been recorded. But it does have a specific allocation, gallons per day. So.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to make a comment tonight?
How y'all doing? My name's Travis Fisher, 219 Creek Drive. I'd basically like to second
everything that she says. I'm in the same area. Gentleman, I think, Swarovski or whatever. I live off of Cornwallis. Traffic is backed up to Cornwallis or to Cleveland Road. It is it's a bypass of 40. As she mentioned as well, Johnston County had previously denied a similar request because of some of these concerns that we're making. So, and I also kind of agree, it does seem a little backwards, right? We're going to annex up something, we're going to call it a code of large residential, and then at some point in the future, we're going to change that. I was really hoping to come here and see something like we saw with the first slide of, this is our plan, right? This is what this is going to look like. Not basically, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to annex it, we're going to take it in, and then at some point in the future, we'll tell you all what you're going to do. This is going to be your new neighborhood. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Come forward, sir.
I'm right this time. Okay. I agree with what Travis, my neighbor, said, and this young lady. I'm Kevin Sparrow, 223 Creek Drive, and we live in that subdivision across the bridge there. Just recently, we got to the point where we can come out of the neighborhoods now and go with the flow of traffic. About a year or so ago, it was from the light till about, at the time, a stop sign. This is my 28th year living there. And when I came, it was a stop sign at 42 in Cornwallis. Can you imagine now how that wouldn't work? But even weekly, we have crashes right there, the Exxon gas station, Cornwallis, and I still call it 42. I'm an educator, so I am concerned about the schools. Cleveland High School took over the overflow from West Johnston. Corinth Holders was built further down into the county. So I agree with them. It seems like there was no thought of the kids and the education and the time it would take to build probably another middle school, but for sure a high school. My son graduated in 21. They was reaching capacity then. So it's 2026 now. So I'm thinking that, with all of this development, and like Travis was saying, I was wanting to see some more detail on that. The school system have done a wonderful job keeping pace with the growth. I do like having things nearby. I used to have to go to Raleigh every time just to go to a restaurant. So I like the growth, but when it's manageable, I'm concerned that this is getting a little to the point now where it's not manageable, especially with the traffic, because it's not the best of driving in the area anyway. But getting back to the concerns, though, the schools, I think that need to really be looked at. Where would you build the school? Where would the high school be? That's something I think to think about. And I like seeing the cows over there in the fields, but I think they're going to be leaving us now. But really, though, just the concern of the overcrowding, the schools. Oh, this is the question I had. I talk a lot. The address. We are in Johnston County with the Wake County address. Our address is Garner. Is that address going to change to Clayton?
I would assume so.
So, okay. So when we come into Clayton, then I guess we're in the town now. Are we going to be now paying town taxes? That doesn't happen?
Ever comment on that, Swarovski?
So just Garner is a mailing address. It's not a town. So the mailing address for this site will most likely still be a Garner mailing address because it's 27529, which is the Garner post office. It'll be in the town of Clayton, but it will have a Garner address. So it only has to do with post office. The addresses only have to do with what post office you're served by.
Addresses remain in basically what you're saying.
Most likely it'll probably be still that 27529.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
My name is John Davis. I live at 5347 Cornwallis. So in case you don't, if I can help you there, I join her property. The 600 and some houses that are going to go on the two parcels are here. And right there is 348 apartments. And directly across the street is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 100 townhomes going in. That property hasn't been yet annexed in, but in all probability it will be. By the way, I want to thank you guys for what you put up with all the time. I was chairman of the board of the Board of Adjustments in my hometown. I know what it's like to sit there and have the bullet shot across the table at you. So my concern is, excuse me. My concern is that I don't think there's anything that anybody in this room can say that's going to stop the development of this property. I think it's just foregone conclusion it'll happen. What I was hoping is maybe there's some way to have some guidance, meaning that you take the Troxler property and the Yeargin property, when they owned that property for how many blooming years, they knew there was wetlands. So we reward them by saying, okay, since you have wetlands, but we'll use the total acreage and count to give you the ability to condense and put it here. I'm not opposed to what the gentleman said about trying to keep things localized and try to keep a town. We're only a mile and a half from 42 and, Veterans Parkway and Walmart, Lowe's. It's a shopping center. I don't see how by having a cluster there is going to have the effect of having a town center, so to speak. So I think what happens is our property values go down. When I come out of my driveway, when they do the Veterans Parkway extension and they turn around and come down 5 lanes on Cornwallis and to her point, tapering to a 2-lane road again, 300 feet out of my driveway, I'll have to turn right, go to a turnaround point. I don't know. Do I have to go all the way down to the roundabout to come back to be able to make a left-hand turn? No, I won't be able to do that either because I'm going to have to cross over, go over behind Sheets and come around that way, or turn right on Veterans and do a loop-de-loop down there. You guys have your plates full and I'm sorry for you. Can you answer me one other question? What is going to be, when you vote tonight, what are you actually voting on? You're not approving a subdivision at this point, correct?
That's correct. We're not approving any permanent plan. It is just basically a holding zoning until they come back later with.
So you're actually voting on conceptually accepting wrong choice of word, but something into the future.
We're voting to give it a zoning designation. The town could have picked that designation. This particular case, they picked something that was as close to what it currently would be. And then they'll come back at a later time. There'll be more public comment and people to come forward and make those comments.
Will they come in front of your board?
Yes.
With a plan that we can come back and address one-on-one?
That's right.
Okay. I would hope that, I don't think that you have the ammunition at this point to stop anything like this, but I would hope that maybe in the future planning of the town, that they give some consideration into the lot sizing. I mean, it's a shame to think about 665 homes being condensed into a 10,000 square foot lot. It just, for where we live, Johnson County, open space, I feel like I'm moving downtown into the center of the thing. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chairman Dupree, I do want to point out that section 3.2.13 of the UDO does state that the maximum residential density is 1 unit per acre. So 480 acres, they can put 480 units with this zoning. Just I want to put some context to it without having it come back to us.
Right. Well, that's true. Anyone else from the public? Okay. At this time, I will entertain a motion from the board, and then we can make comments if you have further comments to make after a motion. Do we have a motion this evening?
Can I make a comment before the motion?
You can.
Just real quick to address a few comments. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe general statute prohibits boards from considering school overcrowding in development decisions. So nor the planning board, nor the town council, nor the Johnson County Board of Commissioners can consider school overcrowding when it comes to development decisions, and that is because of the state law. Another thing, I think these properties have been under consideration for development. I mean, I mean, at least I think I've been hearing about it for a decade. I think this has been a long time coming. Even when it was in Johnson County's jurisdiction, now it's in Clayton's. It's no secret that the Cleveland community has exploded in population growth. Even since I was born, I think there was probably 2,500 in the Macklemore Fire District. There's probably north of 40,000 there now. And for the county to be providing county level services, which and many folks would argue does not include water, but the county provides water in Johnson County, to get more density, more growth. The only option was for the county to kick it over to the town of Clayton. It made financial sense for the county, it seems. It seems like it's made financial sense for the town. And the property owners have every right to develop their property within the confines of what is now the Clayton Development Ordinance. So I think that's just something to keep in mind. I do think it's worth all of us being aware that while it is the residential large lot zoning that we expect they're going to come back. They've said they're going to come back. But if something catastrophic happens and someone else buys up this assemblage of land, that it could also be built upon at residential large lot, which I think makes sense today. I think we trust the folks that are working on this project, but just something to keep in mind.
When you talk about the schools, this comes up, just for the public, this comes up at most meetings where we talk about school capacity, and I get it. I'm born and raised here. I can remember when we had one school, Clayton High School, and you went to that. None of these other schools were built. But one of the reasons we're not allowed to do it by law, but the reason we don't want to do it and talk about what schools would be in the future, and you don't want that to happen, is because taxpayers would be paying to build a school for people that aren't here yet. And you wait till the people are here so that they can contribute to the taxes that pay for the schools that they are requiring, as opposed to us paying for bigger roads and bigger schools and all of those things. That's the reason it's that way. It would be unfair to those of us, because we'd have people say, well, don't let anybody come here then, and we won't raise our taxes. That's the reason, besides the fact that it's a law, it's the reason the law was put in place that way. Any other comments before we make a motion? Yes, sir.
I'll also add that typically, and especially in this case with the widening of Veterans Parkway, there is usually some sort of utility design, called a wet utility design, that will enhance future needs of the project. And for the Veterans Parkway, which is at 25% design stage, so they haven't even designed any drainage for it yet, is basically what that means. I would imagine that NCDOT is taking into consideration the whole I-42 gateway and will upgrade the water and sewer lines on Veterans Parkway in the area. Now, that doesn't necessarily guarantee Cornwallis will get upgraded to some degree, but Veterans Parkway for sure. And then I can also personally speak to Cleveland Road is also going to be widened from I-42 all the way to Barber Mill Road to a minimum of at least 4 lanes. And there is some work to be done on that for Cornwallis just to improve traffic flow. And then I can also say that if you are familiar at the intersection of Cornwallis and Cleveland, there's a new gas station going in there right now. And then immediately behind that, there was some sort of small manufacturing facility that was proposed to go there to buy out some of the lots that was pushed towards Johnson County that I was aware of. So I can at least speak to, there will also be some utility redesign on Cleveland Road with that widening as well. But to what some of the comments that we've made here, Johnston County is not equipped to handle some of the things compared to the way that Clayton is. And so I can say there is a plan to put like multi-use paths and sidewalk along Cleveland Road for that whole stretch that I mentioned. But Johnston County is already saying like, we probably won't be able to have the maintenance staff to afford that. So therefore it probably won't happen. So there's a whole bunch of other things that are happening, but I can at least let you know, at least that NCDOT will be accommodating those needs where they are allowed to. Now, the immediate area of Cornwallis, yes, a historic property, SHPOs, the organization, they are a pain to deal with. It's almost impossible to get things done. I hate dealing with them personally. But it would stand to reason that from the limits of the Veterans Parkway construction, whatever that ends up being, and then whatever happens on the Cleveland side, everything in between that zone will stay the same unless future developments come in and change what that cross-section would be. I know don't take this as a guarantee, but we told NCDOT that Cornwallis should at least be 3 lanes from Cleveland to the roundabout. That's currently there, but obviously that doesn't help the future section that we're kind of concerned with right now. So, but that's not a guarantee. That was just a recommendation provided by me and my colleagues on some of the work we're doing. So that's all I'll say.
I'm just going to make one more comment quickly. We talked about the schools and the fact that we can't have an impact on that. I would encourage everyone to kind of dig into this. I don't work for the schools. I'm not associated with the schools, but their enrollment is public information. They do provide that. It is as of the first day of school. I don't have a complete list, but I'm looking at 17 schools from the county, and they do their enrollment the first day of school. And as of the first day of school this year, there were only 2 schools that were oversubscribed right now above their current capacity. So I would highly encourage you to look into that information, and neither of those 2 schools are in this area. So they have a mandate to determine what that capacity is. They set that, and then they compare it the first day of school. And the majority of the 15 schools that are within capacity, the vast majority of them, there's a significant space there for more students. So,
This time I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion with the expectation that the development team and the nearby property owners are going to get very familiar with each other over the next several months and years. I'll make a motion to approve, and consistent with the 2045 Comprehensive Growth Plan and the Gateway 42 Small Area Plan, make a motion to recommend approval of the Kenny Troxler Jurgen Tree of Life properties rezoning to LLL or RLL residential large lot, while the request is not fully applicable to the future land use map in the 2045 Comprehensive Growth Plan, and it is inconsistent with the Gateway 42 Small Area Plan in that the subject properties are not adjacent to the contiguous town of Clayton municipal boundary and is not included in the 2045 Comprehensive Growth Plan or future land use map. The Gateway 42 Small Area Plan calls for this area to be complete communities and complete community commercial area. This action is reasonable and in the public interest, and that development of this parcel is not planned at this time. The zoning to residential large lot is consistent with the development patterns in this area and serve as a transition area from the 42 corridor to the more rural parts of Johnson County.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign? Motion carries.
Can I make one more request? I apologize for talking after motions. I was trying to ask a question, but I didn't want to break the motion. My other advice for the team as they bring this forward, can we not abide by the 500-foot rule to let people know this is happening? If this was a 10-acre site, I wouldn't care, but an almost 500-acre site, this entire side of Clayton needs to know about it. So I don't know if there's something more that the applicant can do to get the word out when there's public hearings and public meetings, but I think we need to do whatever we can, since this was annexed by the town from the county, to do not do a better job, because we're adhering to what we're doing, but do something above and beyond what's been done prior to notify the public when there's meetings. So that's my only request and my advice to the applicant as well. I don't live within 500 feet, so I want to know about this. I'll say it personally. I want to know about this. So.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.